providing resources and comfort to caregivers. This is Caregiver Crossing.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Caregiver Crossing. Thank you so much for everybody being here. If this is your first time joining us, Caregiver Crossing is a show brought to you by Joyce House, presented in partnership with Cardon and Associates. We are right here every week to discuss all things caregiving. Today, I am incredibly excited to welcome someone very special to me and to Joyce House, Nyc Sigmon, our community and family care coordinator. Now, Nyc plays a vital role in supporting both caregivers and their loved ones. He helps to create meaningful care and connect our families with essential resources. His dedication to ensuring caregivers feel supported and empowered truly makes a difference in the lives of many. Thank you, Nyc, for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
It's, great to be on.
So today's show, we're going to focus on some heavier topics near the end of the show. So we're going to start with something that's a little bit simple, but still incredibly important, self-care. So as caregivers, I mean, it is incredibly easy to get caught up in the daily grind of looking after our loved ones, and our caregivers sometimes forget to take care of themselves. We often think that self-care has to be like this big event, taking off days of work to go on a vacation, or taking off, multiple days without your loved one just to do something big. But the reality is, even small acts of self-care can make such a huge difference to our well-being.
Yeah, you really don't need hours of free time to recharge. Sometimes it just takes 5 minutes of doing something for you, whether it be a breathing exercise to help you reset. So today we just want to share some, quick and easy self-care tips that you can fit into your busy schedule, because caregivers, we're busy. So these are things you can do right now today without needing to carve out a big chunk of time.
All right, so Nyc and I both got some things together, and we're kind of just going to alternate and go off some of these tips. So one of the ideas that I had is to schedule a regular me time. Like, why not just schedule like an hour every week? Dedicate a specific time each week just for yourself. Whether it is like for a hobby, or like maybe you're scheduling like an hour nap just to take. Having that free time for yourself, I mean, is incredible. Like, consistent self-care really does help prevent burnout and maintains balance for caregivers.
Yeah, I love that. That me time is ever so important. The next thing here is to join a supportive community. Whether this is participating in a caregiver group, either in person or online, sharing experiences and receiving support from others in similar situations can really provide valuable insights and emotional relief, like Caregiver Way, which we're going to talk about a little later.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk about Caregiver Way. What an innovative product, so that caregivers can contact each other. I mean,
Yes.
we're gonna talk a little bit more about that later. But another tip I have, this one really works a lot for me. Like we said, these activities might have to be tailored to yourself. I mean, some of them might not work for everybody. You kind of have to find your own activity that works the best for you. But this one really means a lot to me. Practice mindfulness or meditation. So engage in mindfulness exercises or meditation for, I do it for even sometimes like 5 minutes a day. Having that 10, 15 minutes a day just to yourself, I mean, so that you can enjoy like the silence. I think it's really incredible. It really helps me manage my stress, and it provides like a well-needed mental break for myself too, just to meditate for those few minutes.
Yeah, I like that. I used to actually meditate a lot. So hearing you say that makes me kind of want to get back into it.
Yeah, let's both get into it.
Yeah, for sure. My next thing is here to create a self-care plan. It can be as detailed or, as short as you like, but develop a personalized self-care plan with activities you enjoy and that you find restorative. And having this structured plan, make sure that you take this regular time for yourself and address your own needs. So whether you put this in your notes on your phone or whether you write it down, it's helpful to have a plan to, hold yourself accountable to caring for yourself.
I think that is important, holding ourselves accountable too, because a lot of the time, maybe you will schedule that hour for yourself, and then if you're not accountable, you don't end up getting that hour for yourself, and you are more likely to burn out. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think it's really important to stress that these small acts of self-care really add up, like you were talking about, Noah. You don't have to overhaul your whole routine or, quit your job or you schedule a spa day or hike the Appalachian Trail. It can, be these little moments, whether you're taking 5 minutes to breathe, enjoy a cup of coffee, listen to your favorite song, just these little small things that you can sprinkle in throughout the day to help yourself get through. And also don't feel guilty about taking time to yourself. It's important for you to care for yourself so that you can care for your loved one, and recharge your own batteries. What do you think, Noah? What else comes to mind?
Wow. I think these are some really great ones. I do love listening to music, so that is an incredibly important one for me. Sometimes I will just sit by myself and put my headphones in for 20 minutes and just get away from the world. So here's our challenge to all the caregivers listening today. Pick one thing, maybe just one small act of self-care, and try it today. Whether it is a quick stretch or sitting outside for a few minutes or enjoying your favorite song, like I said. Absolutely love music, and it's incredible for us too. Take that moment for yourself. We would love to hear from you too, from all of our caregivers. Let us know, what little things do you do to take care of yourself? What are little things that help you get away from the burnout, that help you alleviate the stress? We would absolutely love to hear from all our caregivers. Let us know on Caregiver Crossing on our Facebook, and we'll share your ideas in a future episode. Remember, even small moments of self-care matter, and you absolutely deserve them. All right, we've got to take a quick break, but we'll be right here after the break to talk more about Joy's House. Nick, would you mind staying with us for another segment?
Absolutely, I'll be here.
We're so excited. Thank you so much. All right, you can find past episodes of the show at caregivercrossingradio.org, and be sure to like and follow us on Facebook. If you'd like to connect with us to discuss show topics, need help connecting with resources, have a question that you'd like for us to answer on air, or just want to say hey, you can reach us at 317-254-0828. Or please go ahead and email Tina directly at tina@joyshouse.org. All right, I think we've got a few people that we want to thank before we go ahead and take a break right now. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joy's House in partnership with Cardon & Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joy's House provides exceptional day service for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joy's House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life, regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or by visiting joyshouse.org today. That web address again is joyshouse.org. All right, everybody, stick around. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing after the break.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Have you ever covered a carpet stain with a rug, ignored a leaky faucet, pretended your half-painted living room is supposed to look like that? Well, you're not alone. We've all got unfinished home projects. But there's an easier way. Thumbtack is the app that makes it easier to care for your home. Pull out your phone and in just a few taps, search, chat, and book highly rated pros right in your neighborhood. Download Thumbtack and start caring for your home the easier way.
Welcome back to Caregiver Crossing, everybody. I'm your producer, joined by somebody incredibly special to myself and to Joyce House, Nyc Sigmon, our community and family care coordinator. Nyc, thank you so much for joining us with this segment again, and thank you again for being here. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, and I am so glad to be here.
I am so glad you're here too. I think we're just going to go right for it and get into the first question.
Let's do it.
So, could you please share a little bit about, for our new listeners, could you share a little bit about what an adult day is, specifically Joyce House, and a little bit about what your role is?
Yeah, so in my role, I'm a community and family care coordinator. So in short, I work a lot on our online community for caregivers, Caregiver Way, which I'm really excited to talk about here and more in depth shortly.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, and then I also support our caregivers particularly at our University of Indianapolis location on the south side. So Joyce House, we're an adult day service, and we serve anyone over the age of 18 living with life-altering diagnosis. And with that, like I said, we serve adults at both locations, at Broad Ripple and the University of Indianapolis. And then the other really half of our mission is serving the caregivers. So it's really twofold because we have to serve both really. So, and with that, we have 5 lines of caregiver support services. We have Caregiver Crossing, which you're listening to now, Caregiver Way, which we'll talk about shortly. We also have an end-of-life doula program. We have integrated healthcare coordination, and we also have Care Kits, which is a resource with a lot of different caregiving things inside of it.
So is Joyce House accepting new guests right now?
We absolutely are. We are accepting new guests at both our Broad Ripple location and our University of Indianapolis location.
Oh, that's incredible to hear. And so if somebody were to want to take a tour of Joyce House, they would go directly to joycehouse.org or call us directly at 317-254-0828. So, Nyc, I'm a little bit curious about how, what are the lesser known aspects of an adult day? What's something that families would find surprising or maybe surprisingly beneficial?
Yeah, so I think when we think about adult day, for those of us that know about it, we often think about the person that's going to receive services, the person with life-altering diagnosis coming here to get that engagement and interaction. But it's really equally important for the caregiver to get that respite, and that's something we don't often think about. Whether you drop your loved one off and you get a self-care day, or maybe you have to get work done, but I think that respite is so important. And also the caregiver support services that we and other adult days have, and supporting the caregiver is so important. And it's not just, we see you and you drop your loved one off and you're gone. We also want to support you. We want to talk to you. We want to welcome you in as part of the community and family.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so much stuff that goes on at home that, we really don't know about, but would absolutely love to support our caregivers, through whatever they're going through. Yeah. So in what ways, so obviously there's a lot of different people and a lot of different capabilities of people that are at Joyce House or the guests that are at Joyce House. In what ways does an adult day, or more specifically Joyce House, ensure that activities are meaningful and tailored to each guest's abilities or their interests?
Yeah, so I would say it starts really early with the tour, and then what usually follows the tour is the assessment, or some places call it like an intake process. And of course, we get medical information and important information there, but we also get information about the guests, what activities they like, what music they like, family background, etc. And we get this to our direct care, our guest relations staff, and we build meaningful connections with each guest. We have targeted ways to interact with them, especially on their first few days, to make them a welcome part of our family. And I like to say, in some spaces that we see through people. And I would like to say here at Joyce House, we see the person. We don't see through the person. We see the person for who they are, for their abilities, first and foremost, rather than the condition that's, taking parts of them away. Mm-hmm.
I think that's really incredible. And you must have seen so many different families and so many different guests who have experienced so many different things. I'm wondering, what's the most heartwarming reaction you've seen from a guest who was positively impacted by an activity or an interaction?
Yeah, so I think particularly of our holiday parties that we have here in December around Christmas time. Last year, I got to be at our holiday party at our University of Indianapolis location, and we welcomed caregivers that day and guests, and all the guests had their own present to open, and really seeing their joy. We try to bring that emotion out at Joyce House of joy of them opening that gift and seeing it, and really all range of our guests having that smile and having that joy and seeing their caregiver enjoyed that moment as well. I think it's always really heartwarming.
It's really beautiful watching people open gifts. I mean, regardless of who it is, I love seeing the faces on people just light up after they get that thing that they finally wanted for Christmas.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful.
It is. So, Nick, you and I are a little bit young in this organization, and we do work with a lot of aging adults. So I'm wondering, have you seen any intergenerational relationships that have positively affected one of our guests?
Yeah, I really think of two things. We have, at our broader location, we have a lot of high school volunteers. We have a lot of volunteers in general. Our volunteers are awesome. We get a lot of high school volunteers at our broader location. So seeing these, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids interact with some of our older adults here at Joyce House is really impactful because maybe, for a lot of times outside of maybe their grandparents or older ones in their family, they don't really get this interaction with older adults. So it's really cool to see. It's really cool to see the guests connect with them. But it's also cool to see the volunteers grow. And then at our Unity location, we have college volunteers, which kind of along the same lines, from PT students to social work students, seeing them build those connections. And for them, they're building those connections and, learning, but they're also learning for their field as well. So learning from our older population.
That's incredible. I love that the younger generation is getting out there and wanting to volunteer more. If anybody wants to volunteer, please check us out on our website. We've got some more information about volunteering there, joycehouse.org. So what is a day at Joyce House like when something out of the ordinary happens? Maybe a surprise visitor or event happens?
Yeah, so I think of an event, and these are planned, but out of the ordinary. We have something called guest wish days. So these wish days are dedicated towards a guest. We had years ago, we had a guest that was really into jazz. So we got him tap dancing shoes. We played jazz music, and every guest that came in that day had a name, and they were welcome to the jazz club. So these wish days are really cool. They happen a few times a year at both of our houses. And it's out of the ordinary, and it changes the routine. But not only does the person that they is centered around have a great day, also all the other guests have a great time, and the staff as well have a great time.
I was going to say, the last wish day we had, we got to fly to Jamaica.
Yes, yep.
We got to set up a little airplane in our one of the rooms at Joyce House, and we got to have people kind of ride on that airplane through a tour of Jamaica, and it was absolutely incredible to see the guests light up, and all of the other guests having such a wonderful time too.
It was great.
So this is going to be a little bit of a tougher question. How do you manage and support guests who may have difficulty adjusting to the new environment when they first join an adult day like Joyce House?
Yeah, I would say, early on, and even if they need it as we go on, as they're a guest here, we really try to pair one of our staff, our guest relations staff with them and build that connection early on, make them feel comfortable, really meet them where they're at. We try to encourage everybody to participate in things, but maybe that's not maybe you don't want to do exercise today, so we'll find something else for you to do. Maybe a staff will have you come in a different room and do a puzzle. Just trying to make you feel comfortable, and also learning about each of our guests' likes and dislikes. What makes them happy, what makes them smile. I think that's really important to try to make them feel comfortable, because we try to feel like a house. We're called Joyce House, so we want to make them welcome and feel comfortable in our space, in their space.
I love that. I can tell that you care so much about the guests, Nick. This is really incredible. We've got to take a real quick break, but I do want to give a quick shout out. If there is anybody, or if you have any loved ones that might be looking for an adult day, please go to our website, joycehouse.org, or give us a call at 317-254-0828. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you weekly by Joyce House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. We are here every week to bring you support, education, and hopefully a good laugh. Visit caregivercrossingradio.org to connect with us, hear past episodes, learn more about caregiver support resources in the community, and much, much, much more. That website again is caregivercrossingradio.org. All right, don't go anywhere. Anybody, we'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing shortly.
This podcast is brought to you by eHarmony, the dating app to find someone you can be yourself with. Why doesn't eHarmony allow copy and paste in first messages? Because you are unique, and your conversations should reflect that. eHarmony wants you to find someone who will get you. How are you going to know who gets you if people send you the same generic conversation starters they message everyone else? Conversations that actually help you get to know each other. Imagine that. Get who gets you on eHarmony. Sign up today.
Fall is here, and if you want to sleep in the coziest bed imaginable, you have to start with Boll & Branch's best-selling 100% organic cotton sheets. You'll spend every night wrapped in buttery, breathable softness and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with Boll & Branch's 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets. Visit bollandbranch.com and use code WONDERY15. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Welcome back, everybody, to Caregiver Crossing. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. Today, we've been joined by Nyc Sigmon, our Community and Family Care Coordinator at Joyce House. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about a newer resource for caregivers that Joyce House has implemented in the last few months. This is going to be a trusted online educational resource and supportive community filled with meaningful connections. This is going to be an online community that is absolutely fantastic for caregivers. Nyc is going to be joining us today to tell us a little bit more about the resource. Let's just get started off, and can you explain to me what Caregiver Way is and how it serves as a resource for family caregivers?
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it some. So it's an online community or a website for caregivers to come to learn, to connect with other caregivers, to find peace of mind. So in there you can find educational content, anything from self-care to the more intimate things like how do you change a brief to financial, legal, end-of-life care. So there's that part. There's also community connect to connect with other caregivers. There's a place for self-reflection in there as well. So it's really an online hub for caregivers to come to learn how to do the caregiving things and connect with others.
Wow, it sounds like an incredible resource that has all types of information on there. So something we were talking about a little bit earlier in the episode, in this episode, is self-care. I'm wondering, how does Caregiver Way support caregivers on their journey in self-care and their well-being?
Yeah, so self-care is one of our 5 categories on Caregiver Way, and it's really important. We put it first on there for a reason, you'll see, because you have to be able to care for yourself, to be able to care for your loved one effectively. So really, we have videos on there from meditations to self-care tips, anything like that. And also there's a journaling side of Caregiver Way too, where you can get in and you can add your journals. You can get email reminders to fill those journals out. And also maybe you need a self-care tip or something from the community, so you can hop on the My Community part and ask the other caregivers in there a self-care tip as well.
Real quick, what is the website for this?
Yeah, it's visit caregiverway.com.
Okay, incredible. And so they can just go in there, visit caregiverway.com, and then what does it look like from there?
Yeah, so you can get on, visit caregiverway.com. You can make an account and join the community. Wow,
that sounds really easy. What types of educational resources are available on Caregiver Way?
Yeah, so I alluded to it earlier. We have 5 categories of our educational resources: self-care, caring for your loved one, financial and legal, end-of-life care, and life after caregiving. And a lot of these are 2 to 5 minute clips. Some of them are a little bit longer, like exercise routines that we have in there. But there's videos, which makes up a lot of it. But we also have audio files, and we have articles as well. Maybe you're looking to read something instead of watch something. Yeah.
So something that is extremely tough, a very tough subject for our caregivers and guests to deal with. How does Caregiver Way address end of life care? What resources are provided to help caregivers through this extremely challenging time?
Yeah. Like I said, we have a category on there for end of life care, and there's really a lot of different things to think about. There's the more intimate stuff, like, how do you actually care for your loved one at the end of life? How do you give things like a sponge bath? And there's also things that a video like how to spark a conversations. Like, how do you start these conversations about preparing for end of life? And there's also other tips and tricks on there. You can connect with others in the community to see what end of life care tips they have. And there's also like paperwork stuff in there, like, the importance of filling out post forms and legacy planning. It's a hard time of life, but we're trying to, at Joyce House and Caregiver Way, trying to make that conversation more comfortable and more open so that we're ready for it when it happens.
I think that connection is so meaningful because a lot of these things, like, you wouldn't really know how to get through it unless you've done it yourself already. So, that connection aspect of these caregivers being able to connect with more experienced caregivers who've been through it already, it sounds really, really amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
What are some of the most popular or impactful features on Caregiver Way that users have found particularly helpful in their caregiving journey?
Yeah, we have our library with content, educational content, and outside of education, just helpful ideas and things like that. We also have the self-awareness side, which are journals and assessments. But I think all of these are important and impactful. But the community, I think, is awesome. We spent some time in there the other day, and just hearing stories in there. You can hear stories from caregivers in there. You can get tips and tricks. You can ask questions. So I think the range of impact that community have is going to be important on there as well.
So one thing that's important for anything that lives digitally, how does Caregiver Way ensure that the content and resources provided are trustworthy?
Yeah, so Caregiver Way staff, we look at everything first and foremost. And we also have a content advisory board. And this content advisory board reviews and audits our content that is in there to make sure that it's actionable, to make sure that it's correct, to make sure that it's up to date. And also we, in our community aspect, it can, similar to Facebook in some aspects, so we make sure to monitor that as well, and moderate it to make sure, we hope it's a safe place for everybody, and we want to make sure that stays that way. So, yeah.
How does Caregiver Way facilitate connections between caregivers and the guests? What role does this sense of community play in supporting their journey?
Yeah, and the my community part is big, to see people in there talking with one another. And I also think this connection you can see in our library as well. A lot of our people that make content for us are caregivers, and you can you watch a video, you read the article, you can click on their profile, you can look at them and see that they're a person, and you can see maybe they'll have a link to their website or their Facebook or their LinkedIn, and you can connect with them that way. So between the library, you can see actual people there, and the my community aspect. Really try to, we'll be in there too. Those of us that work on Caregiver Way will be in there making those connections and helping facilitate those conversations as well.
It is so incredible that Caregiver Way is facilitating these connections for all types of caregivers. I am wondering if you can give us a real life example of a tip on Caregiver Way.
Yeah, so our last category on there is life after caregiving, which kind of follows the end of life section. And I think so. Tina has a really Tina that's with us sometimes, has a really impactful message on there to keep the voicemails. So maybe you have old voicemails from your loved one on your phone. Don't delete them. Try to keep them. And kind of to go along with that, we have another tip on there that talks about just keeping things that belong to your loved one. Even if you're not really like to hold on to things, I think it's important. Maybe you put these things in a box and you keep them for later on when you want to think about your loved one. But keep the voicemails, keep the things that remind you of your loved one, in terms of that life after caregiving.
First, how can people reach the website again?
Yeah, so you can go to visit caregiverway.com.
All right. And I think also if other people have tips, what would be the best way for caregivers to get those to you?
Yeah, if you have tips or you have questions that you might want answered, tricks that you want to share, you can send those to us at caregiverway@joycehouse.org.
All right. Thank you so much. We've got a few people we want to thank real quick. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you weekly by Joyce House in partnership with Cardon and Associates. We're here every week to bring you support, education, and hopefully a good laugh. Visit caregivercrossingradio.org to connect with us, hear past episodes, learn more about caregiver support resources in the community, and much more. That website again is caregivercrossingradio.org. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Caregiver Crossing shortly.
Okay, it's time to commit. 2024 is the year for prioritizing yourself. Begin your new smile journey with Byte, and you could start seeing results in just 2 to 3 weeks. Just order your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95 at Byte.com. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer financing options, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
What makes a life a good one? Is it the adventure you have? Or the friends you find along the way? Maybe it's pursuing your passion while striving to protect, defend, and save what you believe in every single day. So what makes a life a good one? In the Coast Guard, we think it's all of the above and more. But you'll have to find out for yourself. Visit gocoastguard.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Caregiver Crossing. I'm your producer, Noah Taylor, joined by Nyc Sigmon.
Hey, I'm glad to be back.
Our community and family care coordinator at Joyce House. Nyc, thank you so much for joining us today. So, as caregivers, we often talk about the physical demands of caring for a loved one, but the emotional toll can be just as heavy. This is an incredibly critical time to discuss a topic that can sometimes feel difficult, but is so important. September is Suicide Prevention Month. This is a time to raise awareness of this urgently important crisis. We use this month to shift public perception, spread hope, and share vital information to people affected by suicide. Our goal is ensuring that individuals, friends, and families have access to the resources they need to discuss suicide prevention and to seek help. Family caregivers can... Nyc has prepared some signs for us that family caregivers can recognize these warnings of suicidal thoughts in themselves or the people that they care for by being mindful of behavioral and emotional changes that may indicate distress. So here are a few indicators to watch for that Nyc has prepared for us.
Yeah, so expressing feelings of hopelessness. Caregivers or others or those they care for may talk about feeling like a burden, being trapped or having no purpose. Withdrawal and isolation, sudden withdrawal from social activities, loved ones, or even previously enjoyed activities can be a red flag. Increased substance use, a rise in alcohol or drug use may indicate an attempt to cope with overwhelming signs of stress. Another sign is saying goodbye or giving away possessions.
So these are some tips that family caregivers can recognize, the warning signs of suicidal thoughts in themselves or those that they care for. This is I cannot stress enough how important this is in our society right now, as so many people are having these mental crises, especially caregivers that are already going through so much stress. It is incredibly important to emphasize that you are not alone. And there's help out there for you. If you or someone you know has thoughts of suicide, immediate help is available. Call, text, or chat 988 to speak to a trained crisis counselor or offering support. They are free and confidential support 24/7 to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress. Again, that number is 988, and you can call or text that number if you're in a crisis. As we do wrap up today's important discussion on Suicide Prevention Month, I think it is really crucial to remember that while these conversations are often very heavy, there are also ways we can actively make a difference in each other's lives every single day. Sometimes it is the smallest gestures that can remind someone that they're not alone or that someone is there to support them, even if ourselves don't realize it at the time. In the spirit of lightening the mood a little while staying true to our mission, I want to share a story about how simple acts of kindness can truly change somebody's day or even their life, especially for caregivers who often feel isolated or overwhelmed. This story really spoke to my heart and to the heart of what we do here at Caregiver Crossing. And it also, like we were talking about earlier in the show, makes an impact. No matter how small, these thoughtful actions can have an impact in somebody's life. So the story goes, a woman named Sarah, who is also a caregiver, was having one of those days we've all experienced, one of those hard days where everything just feels a little too heavy. She'd been caring for her mother with dementia for the past few years, and while she loves her mom dearly, the emotional toll was starting to build. Sarah had taken the afternoon off to run errands and recharge, but even a simple trip to the grocery store starts to feel overwhelming. As she stood in the line at the checkout, she realized she had forgotten her wallet at home. After all the energy she put into just getting out of the house that day, this felt like the final straw. She was about to tell the cashier to put everything back when something incredible happened. The man behind her in line, who she had never met before, quietly stepped forward and said, "Don't worry about it, I've got it." He paid for all her groceries without hesitation, smiled, and said, "We've all been there." In that moment, Sarah felt the weight of the world lift off her shoulders, even if just for a moment. This kindness brought her to tears, not just because of the financial help, but because somebody had seen her. Somebody seen her in her moment of need. Sarah couldn't stop thinking about that small gesture. It actually turned her whole day around, and even her week. It reminded her that she wasn't alone, that people care. Later that week, she decided to pay it forward. She put together a care package of soup, some comfort items, and a little note, and left it on one of her neighbor's doorstep. That neighbor, who also happened to be a caregiver, was going through a difficult time with her husband's health, and Sarah wanted to make sure that she felt supported, just like the stranger had done for her earlier. And the ripple effect didn't stop there. That neighbor later told Sarah that the care package had made her feel loved and remembered, and it inspired her to call an old friend that she hadn't spoken to in months. One small act of kindness spread across their community, touching more lives than that man at the grocery store probably ever imagined. I really love this story, and I think it resonates with the heart of what we talk about here on Caregiver Crossing. So often, caregivers feel unseen, exhausted, and isolated, but it's stories like this that remind us of even the smallest acts of kindness can lift somebody's spirits and lighten their load. Whether it's offering a listening ear, sending a simple text, or paying for somebody's groceries, these gestures have the power to ripple through our community for our caregivers that in ways that we might never get to see. So this week, let's take a moment to spread kindness in whatever way we can, whether you're a caregiver or not. Who might need that small reminder that they're not alone? And if you have a story of kindness, whether you gave it or received it, we would absolutely love to hear about it. Call it in, share it with us, and let's keep the conversation of kindness going. You're listening to Caregiver Crossing, a show designed for family caregivers and the people who love them. Caregiver Crossing is brought to you as a service of Joyce House in partnership with Cardon & Associates. With locations in Broad Ripple and near the University of Indianapolis campus, Joyce House provides exceptional day services for individuals living with a life-altering diagnosis and compassionate support for family caregivers throughout the community. At Joyce House, we believe that everyone deserves to live their best life, regardless of their abilities. Learn more about our adult day and caregiver support services by calling us at 317-254-0828 or visit joycehouse.org today. That web address again is joycehouse.org. Until next time, take good care of each other.